All right, so a few months ago, I made a video about this 2006 Ford Focus right here, Zippy. And I was asking the internet, what's wrong with Zippy? And I kind of went over what all I'd been doing and what all I had just done to it at the time. And it's, of course, several months later. And I finally figured out what was wrong with Zippy. And you guys will actually be quite amazed as to what happened with Zippy. So we're going to go ahead and get the hood popped. My gosh, this is my sister's car. I don't know how anybody sits so close in a vehicle, but she's quite a bit shorter than I am. So let's see if I can open the hood one-handed. She just had a mishap with it when I was fixing stuff on it. I may have forgot to put a clamp on. My gosh, can I hold the hood with my shoulder and get that in there? Yes, I can. All right, so here's what happened with Zippy. I'm going to try and keep this a little condensed so that we don't have another 20-minute video. I've already made 2 of those today. Zippy needed an engine because what happened was after the video I made sometime later, I put a fuel pump in. That didn't change anything. I discovered there was an evaporative emissions line at the back of the car pinched, like just worn off and pinched closed. So I cut it out and replaced it, and it didn't make any difference. The car still ran like it, you got it hot, it died. So I had done this at a shop that had a lift. The guy there, I know him, he offered the lift for me to use. And so I took him up on it, and I put the fuel pump in there. It was a lot easier with the lift than how I was going to do it here at home. And so it still wasn't running right. So the guy that owns the shop and the other guys in there, they've worked on all sorts of stuff. They've worked on trucks, tractors, pickups, cars. They've done a lot of it. And the guy that owns the place, he's been around for a while. He knows quite a bit. And so he messed with it for a while. And what he did was he took this line loose because he said, well, what's happening is you're pushing too much oil up, and the engine can't run because it's got too much oil in there. It can't keep up. It can't make enough power because it's got too much oil. So he unplugged that line, and he said, go run the crap out of it and purge all that oil out, get it off the catalytic converter and all that, and come back. It's like, okay. So I took off, and I shut the overdrive off, and I didn't floor it, but I ran it pretty hard. And about 6 miles down a, blacktop that was off the main road, that way I didn't get in anybody's way, it all of a sudden just started belching smoke, and car got hot, died. So what happened was the engine was worn out. The rings were gone. So it was pushing oil from the crankcase up through the breather into the air intake and sucking it back through into the motor. Well, because the guy had disconnected that line, it just spewed oil all over the place. And that was a smoke because it finally got on the exhaust. And then I think it pushed enough oil out of the motor that it started to get hot. It didn't push all the oil out of the motor, but it pushed a lot of it. It started to get hot. And so shut it off. Had to tow it back to the shop, and then I rebuilt the engine. So when I got the engine apart, and I don't have great pictures of this, I think I just have one, and I'll put it up on the screen now. But as you could probably see on the picture, all of the cylinders look like somebody dropped something metal in there. Oddly enough, the cylinder head, the old one, this has a reman cylinder head on it now, but the old cylinder head looked fine, other than some little specks of aluminum on it. And when I saw that, I thought, oh, there are chunks missing from the cylinder walls. It's shot. I need a completely other brand new engine. So this is on a Sunday. And then the following Monday, because this is a public business, where other stuff is repaired. I'm just a guest mechanic, if you will. So one of the guys that works in there that does most of the more advanced repairs, he came up, he was working on it. And he was messing with it, and he said, that's just aluminum stuck to the cylinder walls. He said, those walls are fine. He said, I'll bet you anything they're fine. And he was right, turns out. Good thing. So I honed the crap out of this engine block. I spent 4 days honing this to get all that aluminum off there. And yeah, I oversized it slightly because turns out halfway through rebuilding this, I realized you're not supposed to rebuild the short blocks on these Duratex, these dual overhead cam Duratex. You're not supposed to rebuild the short block. I did it anyway, and it got standard size pistons, standard size rings, standard main and rod bearings. I bent a connecting rod because I was trying to hammer the wrist pin out of it, and I shouldn't have done that, but I did it anyway, so I had to order another connecting rod. Shout out to Windy City Engine Parts on eBay for that connecting rod. That really saved my bacon. And I got it all put back together, and it runs fine. It's been running really, really good. It's only got about 250, no, it's probably got close to 300 miles on it since the rebuild. And at 500 miles, I'll drain the oil and put a regular type of oil in that we would normally use, and then we'll go every 5,000 miles, I'll change the oil. But right now it's got like super cheap oil in it from O'Reilly and a bottle of break-in additive. And we're just running it to make sure everything's okay. But the oil is, the oil's not bad. You could probably tell on camera there. It's still kind of gold colored. It hasn't turned black or anything like that yet. I don't see any sparkly, shiny bits in there, which is awesome. I also drained and refilled the transmission, and it's been fine. Today, the coolant hose that is buried back in here, I forgot to put the clamp on it, and it finally popped off, so I had to run into town to shove that back on for her and actually put the clamp on. But other than that, it has been running very, very well. Starts and runs really good, and it's got plenty of power. It seems to be getting good fuel economy. I haven't asked my sister what the fuel economy is like, how good it is. And so now all I have to do to it is just some miscellaneous stuff, like the driver's door handle. I'm having some problems with it, and there's a few other miscellaneous things. It needs a power window relay because that's shot, and so the driver's window won't work. But it's running good. And so this is part of the reason why through September I wasn't putting out any videos, is because I was rebuilding this, and then we immediately turned around and started planting the winter pasture, and that was a flippin' debacle. So I have a video out on that, by the way. It's kind of long, but if you want to watch it, it's there. But between Zippy here and the planting, that's why I haven't been around for about a month with any relevant, interesting content. But we're going to make up for that now. Don't worry. This will be the third video I filmed today, so we'll have content on the feed for quite a while. I'll space it out. And I got some other stuff I'm going to try and do. It's fall now. It's actually pretty nice outside at the moment. And lots of other things to do. So having Zippy back together is a huge help around here. And so now that we have this car, and I'm going to get this Expedition fixed up, just did a video on it. You should see it before this one. I think that's how I'm going to do it. But that's what was wrong with Zippy, is it needed an engine. And I wanted to do a more in-depth video of taking this down and rebuilding it and all that. But like I said, this place, I was doing it, and I'm very grateful for the shop space and all that, because I was there for 3 weeks doing it, and the owner was not bothered at all by it. He's very relaxed guy, very chill. Everyone in there is. They'll bullshit you up and down the hill, but they're good guys, and they were very helpful. I appreciate the time and all that. But it was a public business, and people were coming in and out, and there's always a lot of background noise and stuff, and I didn't want to try and get the camera out and film. And this was also my very first engine rebuild. So I didn't really want to do a video on that and give false information or incorrect information, things like that. So that's why there's not a better video on it. This 10-minute summary will just have to be enough. So yeah, that was fun. Very valuable learning experience. I'm interested to see how long this thing runs before it comes apart. If it comes apart, I really don't know. I did the best I knew how to do with what I had, and that's about all you can do, is just the best you can with what you have and go from there. So, yeah, that'll about do it for this video, I think. I appreciate you guys sticking around and watching. If you have any questions about rebuilding one of these 2.0 Duratex from the 2005 and later, the dual overhead cam ones, if you have any questions, you can ask me, because I've literally torn this thing down to a block, honed the crap out of it, and put it back together from the ground up. So I'm pretty familiar with the engine. So if you guys have any questions about a 2.0 Duratec, you can ask, and I'll help you out any way I can. So other than that, I'm going to get off of here and get some other stuff done. I appreciate you guys watching. You take care, and we'll catch you in the next